At 68, I thought I had already faced the worst betrayal of my life. I forgave my daughter when I found out she was stealing from me. But I was wrong. The most monstrous thing began on the day I wore her thoughtful gift, that elegant, expensive watch. I didn't know that it was tracking my every move, my every word. Her forgiveness was not remorse. It was a hunt. And I was the prey, fattened up before being killed. My name is Eleanor, but everyone always called me Nora. Nora Carter. My late husband, Miles, and I spent our whole lives building our little coffee empire here in San Francisco. Carter's coffee was his dream, brought to life by the three of us. Me, him, and our hard work. This house in Pacific Heights is filled with his memory. Every corner here is our shared past. After he passed away from cancer, all that was left was silence. And our daughter, Sophie. A year ago, I found her in the study. She was kneeling in front of the open safe, raking the contents into her bag. Not just money. My mother's antique brooches, Miles's watches, everything that was not just valuable, but a memory of our life. The silence that followed lasted exactly 12 months. 12 months of complete, deafening loneliness. And then she came back. Repentant, with a box of expensive chocolates and this gift. A smartwatch from a well-known brand. She looked at me with her deep blue eyes and said,
"Mom, this is the latest model. It will monitor your blood pressure, ECG, and oxygen levels. At your age, you need to keep an eye on these things. I'll be able to relax."
I, a lonely old woman, hungry for the sound of a familiar voice, for my daughter's affection, allowed myself to soften. I believed her. And then her campaign of care began. She took me to doctors, cardiologists, neurologists, who, looking at my tests, shrugged and said, "Mrs. Carter, you're in great shape for your age." And then she brought up the subject of papers. "Mom," she said one day at dinner, "you need to sign a power of attorney for me. Just a formality, in case of an emergency, so that I can manage the business and your accounts if you can't." The word power of attorney sounded like a death sentence. It was so cold, legal, final. But the watch, it wouldn't leave me alone. Sophie was too insistent, asking if I was taking it off even in the shower. So, under the pretext that the strap was rubbing, I asked my neighbor Leo to take a look at it. Leo is a genius from Silicon Valley who works for one of those IT corporations. He came by a couple of days later. His face was serious. He put the watch between us and said,
"Nora, there are no medical sensors here. No health monitoring. But here is a high-precision GPS tracker. And here is a miniature microphone with a very high sensitivity range. They are listening to your every conversation."
The world turned upside down. But the last piece of this terrifying puzzle fell into place after a phone call. An anonymous one. A woman's voice, trembling with nerves.
"Mrs. Carter, I worked with your daughter at Gallagher and Finch. She's up to her ears in debt. Gambling, debts, her new boyfriend, Jason, he's not the type to wait around. They say he takes care of problems. Permanently."
The phone went dead. And the picture came together. Power of attorney. Debts. A criminal. I wasn't just a target. I was an asset that needed to be converted and a problem that needed to be eliminated. And then the Nora Carter who had built a business alongside Miles in a competitive world woke up inside me. The one who had not been broken by crises or losses. I decided to play their game. I pretended to be a weak, broken, frightened old woman. I complained of dizziness and memory problems. I agreed to everything. We were sitting in the office of Mr. Davis, our family lawyer. Sophia was beaming, her hand resting on the arm of Jason himself, a well-groomed man in an expensive suit with cold, expressionless eyes. Mr. Davis handed me a folder with documents. Slowly, with a trembling hand, not everything was an act. I opened my old leather handbag, as if looking for a pen, and found the record button on my iPhone.
"Mom, don't drag it out, just sign it."
Sophie said, her voice tinged with impatience, a triumphant impatience. And then Jason, confident of victory, leaned toward me and hissed quietly but very clearly,
"Yes, Eleanor, don't keep us waiting. The sooner you sign the power of attorney and rewrite the will, the easier and less painful it will be for everyone."
I looked up at him, making my eyes wide and innocent. The will? Mr. Davis, we were only discussing the power of attorney. What does the will have to do with it? Sophia snorted sharply, her mask of virtuous daughter falling away.
Oh, Mom, enough with the charade. You know perfectly well. Once we have control of the coffee shops and the accounts, you won't need anything else. We'll just speed up the natural course of events. Get rid of the burden.
A deathly silence hung in the office. Mr. Davis looked at them in silent horror. I simply took my phone out of my purse, stopped recording, and looked at the lawyer. Mr. Davis, I think you should witness this conversation for the investigation. Right now, I'm sitting in our very first coffee shop on Union Square. At the same table by the window where Miles and I once drew up a plan for our first profitable venture on napkins. The power of attorney has not been signed. Sophie and her friend Jason are now having a serious conversation with detectives from the Financial Crimes Division, and, I hope, with the district attorney. And yesterday, I invited the girl who dared to call me in for an interview. Her name is Sarah. She risked everything to warn an old woman she didn't know. Today she's coming in to discuss her new role as manager of one of our locations. I watch barista Arturo create his latest coffee art, hear the deafening roar of the coffee grinder, smell the rich, intoxicating aroma of freshly roasted beans. And I finally understand a simple truth. Family is not DNA. Family is loyalty. It is decency. It is those who lift you up, not tear you down. And sometimes you can find it in a phone call from a stranger, or in the help of a neighbor from Silicon Valley. And I will leave my legacy, this whole business that was my and Miles's love, to them. To all those who have retained their humanity. Thank you for listening to my story. On this channel you will find many audio stories about the most unexpected twists of fate, from chilling mystical mysteries to shocking life dramas. Browse the playlists, choose your next story, and immerse yourself in a new world. We are sure you will find something to your liking.